Today I want to talk to you about mistakes that I see product-based business owners make over and over again. So I've compiled a list of some of the top mistakes that I see, and I wanted to share them with you, so hopefully you won't make any of these mistakes, and if you are, you can fix them. First mistake that I see is not having enough gross margin in your product. So what do I mean by that? That's all about pricing your products correctly. So I like to start with my product and figure out what is the perceived retail value of this product, and then you divide that by 2, and that would be your wholesale cost. And then you divide that by 3, and that should be the cost of your product. Now, that formula can work a little bit different if you're not wholesaling. If you are just retailing your product, or there's no middlemen, there's no sales reps or anything like that, you can take your cost and times it by 2.5 to 3x over cost, and that's an okay margin. But if you are wholesaling your product, you have got to make sure that your cost of your product is at least a times 3 for wholesale, and then it's times 2 for retail, and that the perceived value is in there to sustain those margins. Now, you ask why I want a 3x over cost. That's the simple rule of thumb, without going into too much detail, that has always worked for me, is I take whatever the cost of the product is, and that's a third, and then a third goes to overhead and a third goes to profit. So it's just a pretty simple formula, and if you stick to it, it works. Now, 2.5 will work, but if you start getting below 2.5x over cost, then there's not enough margin in there to make it work and make it be a really profitable item. So that's just a simple rule of thumb that I like to follow. The second mistake that I see is product-based business owners are missing the proper seasons to launch new products and to sell. So the way to remember this: typically, buyers go to the trade shows in January and February and July and August. So it makes sense to release the new products around the time that those trade shows are. I always had new product launches in January and July. And that way, when the buyers came to the trade shows, they could see the products. Now, if you're not going to trade shows, you still should be putting new products out around those times. And think about it. Holiday stuff should come out in July or sooner. The bigger the retailer is, the sooner that they work on buying. So for example, when I was working with big, huge stores like Kohl's department stores, I was showing them Christmas, January, the beginning of January for that year. And they were making commitments by the end of February, early March, what they would be purchasing for holiday, because the manufacturers have to have enough time to develop and design. So if you're calling up buyers in October or November with Christmas items, you're way too late. You need to be thinking your Christmas and your holiday early. The smaller independent stores will probably be thinking Christmas, June, July, August. However, the bigger ones, the bigger they are, the earlier they're going to be thinking about it. So don't miss your selling seasons and don't call buyers too late. The next mistake that I see a lot is not niching down enough. You cannot sell your product to everyone in the world. You've got to be able to niche it down enough that you can target your marketing and your advertising. So let me give you a perfect example. My husband has an odor eliminating business. It's OAM Solutions. Now, if he just marketed it as an odor eliminator, that's who in this world doesn't have an odor they need to get rid of at some point in their home, in their car, whatever, wherever you have odors, because they happen all the time. Now, there's a lot of products out there in this space. It's a really competitive niche. But what he's done is he's narrowed it down into niches where he can solve a specific problem for a specific person. So for example, one of the areas that he's had great success in is selling his odor eliminating product to police officers, because they wear those bulletproof vests and they get so stinky because they can't wash them. And so they have a definite need, because they don't want to be smelling all the time, to get rid of that odor. And so he has narrowed down his niche and he's targeting to those police officers to get rid of that odor. Another example is hockey players. Their gloves stink really bad. They can't get rid of those, because think about it, they sweat and then it dries and it's stinky. And so they are always looking for solutions, because those gloves are so expensive, they can't be replacing them all the time. So he's marketing to hockey players, specifically to their knee pads, their equipment, and their gloves. So think about your product. How can you niche it down even more? Because this is a big mistake if you're going too broad and too wide in your marketing. So niching down. One of the other mistakes that I see product-based business owners making is they're not clear on their message. When I say your message, I'm talking about your marketing message, because you can have the greatest product in the world, but if you are not marketing it and you're not sharing your message and what your product is, people won't know about you and they can't find you. So when I say be clear on your message, there's 3 things I want you to really be clear on that in your marketing. What it is, number 1, what it does, and why they need it. Those 3 things. If you're clear on those 3 points, the customers will quickly and easily be able to figure out what is your product, what it does, and why they need it. And so you can see why that is very, very important. So look at your marketing message. Are you being very clear? Are you telling them what your product does and why they need it? Are you solving a problem? In your marketing, discuss the problem. Let's talk about my husband's business again. All he has to do in his marketing is target very narrowly the police officers and say, "Are you tired of stinking every time you put your vest on?" There is a problem. See? And so he can market towards that. So think about it. How can you market your products to solve a problem in a specific niche? So niche down. The next mistake that I see product-based business owners making is they're not doing promotions. And I know there's 2 schools of thought on this, but let me tell you, success leaves clues. Look at someone in your niche that's a bigger business that's successful. Success leaves clues. Go sign up for their mailing list and see what they're doing. They're going to be talking to the customers. They're going to be sending out emails. They're going to be sending out promotions. You have to come up with some promotions you can do. You don't have to give your product away. You don't have to do crazy things. And if you have questions on it, I have done a webinar on promotions that's available on my website, beckyjanderson.com/webinars. It's really important that you do promotions for your business because it gives you a reason to get in front of your customers over and over again. And you want to have a reason with a sense of urgency and a call to action that will make them buy your product. If your product is available all the time at the same price, they're not going to be as excited to get it, or they're not going to do it as soon. So you want to be looking at promotions. So make sure that you go over to beckyjanderson.com and get on my list so that you don't miss any of the stuff that I have coming up. I have lots of free training and tutorials that are going to be coming up in the coming weeks, and you don't want to miss any of it. You'll also want to join our Facebook group, Product Biz Made Easy, and I'll have the link down below. So thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day.